That was fucking ear rape.
Hell yeah. Oh my god.
Fuck's sake.
Absolute banger. Well, welcome to Let Me Talk, everyone. It is a Wednesday, it is 8 p.m, and you know what that means. That means it's time for Calum and Tom to make fools of themselves and get some very smart people in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got our wonderful guest here today. His name is
Brando, Palmarini.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to be talking about a load of subjects, but mostly Formula One. Why is this mic so loud?
Because it's not necessarily like...
also really wobbly. Like,
no, I know.
People just come in here and like abuse.
Oh, they've been doing that for ages. We don't.
And
right?
the desk is so fucking messy as well. Like, come on, man. But yeah, Brando, how are you? You doing good?
Yeah, all right. Nice Wednesday.
Oh,
very chill. Had a good dinner.
What did you have?
My flatmate made some pork chops. You know, we had a little wine.
Oh, look, classy.
Yeah, a little nice.
Mate, I was... me and Jack were cooking last night, and I'm basically doing like meal prep now.
Right.
Because I realise I'm spending so much fucking money.
Have you been going to the gym a lot? Or?
Well, just doing like workouts at home and stuff, because the gym is always so packed.
It's always
so small. You know?
My first year, I used the sports center gym, and my god, it was even during COVID time, and I'd go like from... I'd try going 6 a.m. sometimes, and sometimes I'd go just like most random time, like 12:30 p.m, and it'd still be packed.
You know, I went today at 3, kind of empty. I got a squat rack. Like, when do you ever get a squat rack?
I might think about going back again.
Like, you gotta go midday.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, so I started doing like meal prep, and it was so funny because I went and I was like checking out what he was making. So I've got like the chicken, the rice, you know, like the vegetables, everything that's looking beautiful, and then Jack just has some like just slices of pork just sitting there, like not seasoned or anything, just
straight.
puts them in the oven and then just like a cannibal, mate.
I saw that on your story.
It's fucking terrible. Like, this all he eats. He doesn't like vegetables and doesn't eat them.
No way.
It's so weird.
We make an insane amount of broccoli in our household. We just keep, because we're like, we need some vegetables, so it's either broccoli or like Brussels sprouts. We just put them in the oven and then we eat anything else.
Man, you've got to be healthy, man.
You gotta try.
He's like 10 years later, he's gonna get like hella diseases and shit. Honestly, man.
Well, where I live, I still can't say. I feel really weird seeing these things on there, but I live in a specific student accommodation block, which goes by the name.
You guys live in the same place.
We do?
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
Do you live alone?
No, I have 3 flatmates.
Okay, that's why. How's your stove look like? How does your stove look like?
Like the hob?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
What? That's bullshit! Okay, fuck this. I never swear on radio. Fuck that! I have a studio flat. It is 2 rings.
Oh no.
Oh,
okay,
my God.
This is the one question I've always had about the studio, because I see them through the windows sometimes.
Oh, okay. But do you know the one next to the gym? The one,
right.
the kind of first floor one. The one that looks. That's the one. That's my one.
No way. Okay, yeah. I'm on opposite other block. I'm on the other block. Yeah. Second, not on the ground floor, 1 floor up, and then like it's the first 4 when you like look into it. So I guess I've probably seen your window light open. But anyways, what I've always wondered is like, does your like bed sheet not smell like whatever you cooked that night? Like every time?
Well, that's the thing.
Because the kitchen is in the room.
It's so... Because our rings are so bad. I used to live on the 4th floor.
Right.
Last year. And I kind of stayed, and I've got like a very nice looking big studio.
Right.
But because it's so bad to cook with, I've just stopped cooking in my flat. Like I do a lot of salads. I literally just eat so many salads.
That's a healthy way to do it.
I mean, so like that's fine. I mean, I didn't actually have that problem last year when I was cooking more. But you can't even put 2 pans next to each other.
Oh, that's.
But the good news is, fingers crossed, no jinxing.
They're giving you a better room.
It looks like I may be leaving.
Oh, you're leaving.
It looks like I may be
you got
finally
something in the
leaving.
works.
That bad.
It looks like I may be moving to center of town. Some very good friends of mine.
Oh.
And it's an actual proper flat.
I don't mind what I have. We are staying for the next year when they sent out the.
Well, I've seen some pictures of the four person.
No, the 4-person are great. You have your own room and everything, and ensuite bathroom, and then you have the kitchen and living room. Now we have Christmas lights. If you see Christmas lights in any of the windows, that's our flat.
Just gonna knock it.
There you go. I mean, living's in the centre of town would be much better for you because you'd be a lot closer to all the Formula One that I see on TV all the time, mate.
We just have watch parties these days, man.
Like, it rivals like. I generally think it rivals football in terms of its popularity in this town. Like I always go into either the Union Mollies or
as it should be,
or Row, and it's always on, man. Right? And I guess for me, like, I don't really have a context of sport outside of the world of football.
Right.
So like F1 is F1 is Formula One for anyone that's dumb enough not to know that. Formula One.
What do you mean that's stupid, bro?
Formula One for me is literally just cars going round on the circuit forever, ever.
And then he said circuit, not circle.
No, yeah, that's
good,
already
good
like
job.
Yeah.
And then someone says that you've won, and then the race driver that's about 5'1" jumps out of his car and starts jumping around.
That's true.
And that's Formula One, right? That's
Right.
all the context I've got of it. Lewis Hamilton. That's it, right?
That's the worst description of it.
Exactly, right? So you guys can help me. What is Formula One to you, Brando? There you go.
Okay, so I'll just start with I guess you would define it. It's known as the pinnacle of motorsport. So what that kind of means or entails is that it's the best cars, the best circuit cars that you can ever build, and arguably the best drivers in the world. I say arguably.
Yeah,
I'll explain.
We'll explain.
Yeah, we'll explain. But anyways, so I think it's just much more than that. It's just kind of like this culture. So F1 was kind of born after World War II in a way. There was kind of just like this infatuation with like fighter jets and like fighter pilots, and then people like kind of wanted to follow in those like kind of heroic feats. So they decided to strap themselves in these like prototype cars, because I mean in the 40s they really didn't have that much. I mean they had cars, but not like race cars, I guess. And they just strapped themselves in with these fucking bombs. Can I swear?
Yes. Of course, yeah.
Okay, yeah. These bombs that pretty much just couldn't turn, and they went as fast as they could, and then a lot of people died.
I was about to say,
but you know, it was kind of just like looking for that adrenaline and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it started off that way, and then became more and more formalized over the years, and obviously technology advanced, and it evolved so much from where it started. But I think what it's really about is the competition, and then finding kind of like the limit. I think that's the biggest thing that it maybe attracts me to Formula One. The limit of the car, the limit of the driver, the limit of the track. It's all about like how much on edge, and just how like to the limit they really are willing to get.
So is it like really, really small margins?
Right. No, it's minuscule. So like in any qualifying session, almost all 20 drivers will be within 1 second. Okay, yeah. Hold on, I'll get to that. Okay, sorry, I'll get to that in a second. But in terms of margins, they'll all get within like about a second of each other. And you think, oh well, a second is like minuscule amount of time. But in any motor car racing, anything over a tenth is like already a sizable gap.
Shit. Okay.
So qualifying, right? So I guess I'll start with how the race weekend works. So F1 has the F1 calendar right now has 22 races, 23 next year, throughout the year. They vary from being every weekend to every other weekend. There's usually a break in the summer, and a small break in the summer, and a very long break in the winter.
So is it structured like a league?
No, because they're all racing together at the same time.
Right.
Every race, they're all racing at the same time against all the other.
I can see what you mean by league.
Is a league in the sense that there is standings. So there is driver standings and constructor standings, and the points are divided by how you finish on track.
So basically, whoever does best in the 23 races wins.
Right.
That's exactly however many races there are that season.
Right. There's no playoffs. There's no like anything like that. It's whoever has the most points at the end of the season.
Right. And I'm guessing like F1 is like the premier like
division.
It's the pinnacle of motorsport.
It's the pinnacle of motorsport. Right. So basically, it's the best of the best. There is no thing such as like a British F1 and a French F1 like you have in football. You have Ligue 1 and you have
basically it's basically like the Champions League then.
Right.
Essentially, but it's
World Cup.
It's
right.
Maybe. If you race in F1, you don't race in most racing series. So you have
there's no like national divisions.
To give you an example, there are things known as so it's in racing. There's a racing series. So for example, Formula 1 is a racing series. IndyCar is a racing series. NASCAR is a racing
World
series.
Endurance Championship. Right. So these are all racing series.
I've heard NASCAR before.
Within racing series, there are feeder series, which get you to the number one series. So, for example, the easiest way of explaining it, if you look at IndyCar, which is the top for the American, for like just like it's not the top of motorsport, but it's top in America for open wheeler racing. That means not closed cars. There is Indy Lights, and people who do well in Indy Lights go into IndyCar. Mm-hmm. In Formula racing, it goes all the way through Formula 4, which says even within Formula 4, you have Formula 4 UAE.
Those are local. Yeah, Formula 4 is like you have depending on the country.
Your Sunday league race car.
Yeah, I mean, so pretty much Formula 4 is anyone that's done really well in karting. So you start off in karting,
Right.
Oh,
and then
right.
after karting, you get to open wheeler racing.
That makes sense. I was wondering, right? Like, because you know how like most sports you start off at a young age,
Right.
You don't start fucking driving at a young age. do you?
Most
So, like,
most F1 drivers start karting when they're like 3 or 4. Like it's
Right,
insanely early, and that's what I was saying. Like arguably the best drivers in the world, it costs a lot of money
That's
to
what-
kart, to do F4, F3, and then F2, and then get into F1. It costs so much money. The path right now would be, God, like hundreds of.
so it's like a really expensive sport.
It's also you pay for a seat.
Right. Unless a team
Yeah.
finds you and like sponsors you through all these racing series, you're paying for it yourself pretty much. You gotta find the sponsors. If you can't find the sponsors, you put the money up front, you give it to a team and they give you a car. Now that doesn't work for F1 as much as it does for lower series, but in F1 you have these things called pay drivers where pretty much their dads or moms are billionaires, and then they will give a team a significant amount of money to have their kid race pretty much. And you see this pretty much every year. There's always at least one pay driver. Lance Stroll is maybe the most popular pay driver. His dad literally bought one of the teams to have him.
That's
Yeah.
crazy to think that parents would want their kids to drive these fucking machines. Like,
Well, you think about it, the
It's
amount
dangerous
of
as fuck,
the
right?
amount of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's in a sense you think about as if, in a way, if you're a footballer,
would you
right?
you get a lot of money for driving the car?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like Verstappen has like a 50 million.
Yeah, but
a
he's got
year.
the biggest contract ever.
Oh my God.
So the amount of money that these guys are on is insane.
And by the way, they pay no taxes. They all live in Monaco.
Yeah, they all live in
or,
Monaco.
You know, so they don't. It's all net money. It's 50 million straight into their bank account. You know what I mean?
One of the funniest things I've heard is every time an F1 driver moves to Monaco, they get told, they're like, "Why did you move to Monaco then?" And everyone's trying to get the answer.
Right,
And they're
right.
like,
I've
oh
seen the
man,
interview.
I love the weather. I love the boats, bro. I mean, dude, like
The
you
culture.
Then you have some guys be like, "Bro, the girls, bro. I mean, it's just the girls."
Yeah.
And
Way
then
to make these
Nando
mics.
Norris was just like,
Oh,
the taxes.
Right. Yeah,
What do you think?
Tom, is there any way to make these mics less harsh? Like, is there any? Because they were not this harsh.
Oh, it's probably because I've got this on.
Hold on.
Is mine?
That
is this better?
So much.
Yeah. That's
Oh
a
no!
little bit.
So it's not the mic itself. It's just it's just the gain that we pick up in our headphones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, because
Right.
this whole time I thought I was like,
I thought I was screaming.
I
yeah.
thought I was destroying everyone's ears.
So wait, what were we just saying?
We were talking about like Monaco and
Well, yeah. So,
Right.
in essence, these guys,
They're all
you
rich
get-
kids.
so it's like it's kind of like
It's a very privileged sport.
yeah,
yeah,
like,
it's not. You think of football. I mean, my favorite driver, Daniel Ricciardo, who currently races for McLaren.
Not for
sadly-
long.
We know, we know, and won't be racing next year. He's had 8 wins in his career.
Very good driver.
Yeah,
Very good driver.
Incredibly nice guy. He was on Tom Segura's show. I don't know if you know Tom
I know
Segura.
I've heard Tom Segura. Yeah.
And they were asking, pretty much saying, trying to poke fun in a way, being like, so like those guys that pay for their seats, right? And Danny was like, yeah, well, to be fair, it's a bit different to like me, who like he was picked up by the Red Bull Academy
Right.
when he was really young, so like Red Bull kind of paid for him. And the difference with someone who pays their way through, there's not that pressure of the pullout in funding is your dad, pretty much. So whereas if you
Right.
get picked up by an academy, it's just Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren.
So you get like a scholarship.
In essence,
Essentially,
but it's
yeah.
like if you don't perform at the lower levels. So they pick you up like in karting. They pick you up for like Ferrari, for example. They'll pick you up in karting. They'll pick you up in Formula 4. I actually had a picture of a Formula 4 car. This is what it looks like. So it's pretty much like a mini Formula 1 car.
Yeah,
so
they
just
just
not
go-
as good.
So was Lewis Hamilton? Did he come from like a
Right,
really
so
rich background?
he's one of the few success stories in F1. So he started from his dad was working 2 jobs to get him through karting, and then McLaren spotted him very young.
And
then
there was 3 as well, I think. I think it's even more than 2. It was like 3, 4.
Right, he was super young. Actually, he started with RC cars. He started like with the little remote control cars. Then he went to karting. His dad was paying to obviously keep him in karting. Then McLaren spotted him, and then he just went through all the series, got to F1 fairly quick in 07. And then he left McLaren in 2012, going into 2013, and then he's been a Mercedes. He's like objectively one of those where it's like, oh
So
my
he-
god, he was so good so young.
He defies the status quo. Then he's like
right.
a fairy tale story.
He's like
There's quite a few drivers that do that. Max Verstappen, he got picked up by Red Bull early. Vettel got picked up by
Max
Vettel.
Verstappen, as much as I've publicly stated on different shows, my least favorite driver.
I'm glad we agree.
Oh, it's a good start. That's good. Oh my god, this is
good
so
start.
nice.
Yeah, no, good start.
So
He was so good that they had to change the rules because he got into F1 17.
Yeah, 17. He was too young.
He was so good that they created
he wasn't
made
so
it harder
good.
for you to get.
He
into
wasn't
F1.
so good when he got there, but
Crashed happened. Yeah.
crashed up.
so
We're gonna get sued so hard.
how
by Red
much
Bull.
money, right? Like I know you're talking about like contracts and stuff like 50 million, but like are they paid per race or is it like
No. It's just a yearly contract.
just a yearly contract?
Right. Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then most of their money is obviously made in endorsements and stuff like that, and sponsors and stuff like that.
There's so many
What I
shady
was about to talk about,
sponsorships.
right?
Yeah.
What's the deal with all the brands and logos? Like we were talking about this. Like, could F1 have a case for being like the most capitalist sport in that sense?
Yes. Because the cars are built by the manufacturer, but the money comes from all the sponsors that you see on the car, pretty much. Like, obviously, some brands have the money to just fucking build the car, but most of them need sponsors to literally survive. And it's one of the most televised sports, one of the most watched sports in the world, so it makes sense to put your little name on the car. It will show up, you know what I mean? And then they have to put you in all their, like, promo ads and stuff like that. So, like, it makes sense, but it is extremely, like, it's an advertising board, pretty much.
It's so shady as well that you think of the most prominent sponsors.
Marlboro.
Marlboro, for example, cigarette companies. They were the biggest sponsors of F1 cars up until
Still are.
up until the late 2000s.
Right, and then
cigarette sponsorships were banned in F1. However,
then this thing called Mission Win Now and other like different schemes, pretty much. So they used to have the Marlboro logo on the cars, and then they banned it. So then Ferrari made a barcode on the back of their cars that when you took a picture at high speeds, the barcode resembled the Marlboro logo.
Fuck off.
So it was genius. And then they made that illegal, and then this thing called Mission Win Now.
Let's see.
So like new like
so it's like this is a
The
McLaren
barcode.
car from the 90s, which is just literally
Right.
which
Is that the
literally-
McLaren?
which is a Marlboro. Yeah, it's a
Right.
MP4.
The
It's literally
MP4.
just it is a Marlboro cigarette packet. Let me look at everything. It's made to look like a Marlboro cigarette packet. And then if you look at it now,
Crazy. It's literally just all mark.
Oh, yeah, no,
that's
if
it.
you look at Ferrari in 2021, do you see that little green thing on the car, which is Mission Win Now logo I'm
Right.
showing him? That's just a company. If you go on Mission Win Now,
they're essentially just a company that's connected to
it's pretty
Marlboro.
much saying like it's a change lab focused on making global connections. Have you ever heard of Mission Win Now? Sparking open debate, connecting people, and supporting the realization of open ideas. And then you see a little thing here. It says PMI. Do you know who PMI are? Philip Morris International,
which is Marlboro, pretty much. So it's like,
It's just all
and the crazy thing is, back in the '90s, when these sponsorships were like allowed, they threw at them so much money. It was just an unlimited cash cow. They used to make, because the fucking cigarette industry is massive. They made so much money, and they just gave it to them. They just threw money at them. They had like unlimited money to develop their cars. It was an insane time. But hold on, let me. I think we should first like go over the super basics, and then Right.
definitely.
Okay.
So back to the race weekend. So 22 races, right? Usually, you have Thursday's a press conference. They get to whichever country and they get asked questions by the press.
Is there like specific countries to go to? Because I
Yes,
always hear like
there's 22
Monaco-
countries.
22. Oh, so they do a race in different countries.
Yeah, exactly. Usually there used to be only one race per country. Now they have like Imola, which is in Italy, and Monza, which is also
the US
in Italy.
next year is going to have three races: Miami, Vegas, and Texas.
Is it like the World Cup where like the countries pay for F1?
Yes,
Right.
big
okay.
time.
Yes.
Countries have to pay for F1 to go there. Some circuits, the historic ones, have had exemptions up until like kind of recently, and then recently F1, who's becoming more and more infatuated with cash, are like, you still have to pay us.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? So like Monaco used to not have to pay anything because they were such a historic. It's the only circuit that's been in every season except for 2020 because of COVID, but every season. And then they kind of just assumed their spot was guaranteed, and then they started demanding some payment. So, but basically, so they go to 22 races. Thursday, you have a press conference. Friday, you have free practice 1 and 2, which is kind of just like 90 minutes is free practice 1, and then free practice 2 is 60 minutes, where you can just you put the cars out on the track, and each team gets to do whatever they want for those 90, 60 minutes. That you can use you can try qualifying trim. I'll get to all that in a second. You can do long runs, you can do short runs, you can use different tires, different setups. You kind of just want to figure out what is working best with your car for that weekend.
Right. I don't know if there's any like faults or anything.
Right, and if there's anything wrong, but usually there's nothing wrong until something happens. You know what I mean?
okay.
Like, So basically, what teams will do, they will try different setups, which means they will make the downforce higher on the car or lower, depending on the track. So when downforce is higher, you're faster in the turns, but not as fast in the straights, because you're just being sucked to the floor more.
So, right, okay, obviously, right.
So basically, that means that you have more wing, I guess, because they have front and rear wings that kind of affect how close you can...
It's like trying to find the balance between, like...
Speed, speed in the straight and speed in the corner. That's
curves,
pretty much all there is to it. And then they'll try different tires, because there's different tire compounds in F1. So you have the soft tire, the medium tire, and the hard tire. Soft is the fastest one, but doesn't last that long. The medium is medium fast, medium length, or tire life, and then the hard is not that fast, but it lasts a very long time. So it's pretty easy to.
So basically, no matter how good the tire is, like it will always friction will always catch up.
Eventually, it will die.
Yeah. So the tires are meant to, in the past,
they used to go. Yeah,
they were meant to like pretty much just go like the entire race distance and stuff. But like the whole thing was that refueling was the big thing. Right. Now refueling has been banned because just of safety and stuff. So
refueling. What do you mean?
So as in, like, you take a big, like, imagine your petrol.
You know when you go to the petrol station?
Yeah.
And you stop and you put the thing in and you put the gas in the car. Yeah. Right. Basically that they will go into the pits.
I think what you misunderstood is the fact that when there's less fuel in the car, it goes faster because of weight.
Course, oh shit.
So that's the problem.
Right. So back then they used to like underfuel all the cars because they go so fast without any fuel. So, but they had to stop a bunch to put the fuel back in, or the car would stop going. Then they made refueling illegal because there were a few fires and a few times like Massa in Singapore 2008.
Oh yeah,
and he ran off with
and Jos Verstappen when his Verstappen's dad.
Verstappen's dad.
Yeah.
By the way, Verstappen didn't come from a non-privileged. His dad was an F1 driver, so it's like
his dad was
let's
a
just start
piece
there.
of shit.
Yeah.
Oh
my god, he beat his wife. Oh, anyways, he was a dickhead.
He left Verstappen.
He left. I was gonna say.
Verstappen. Verstappen messed up in the karting race. He was like probably 10, 11.
Not even 8. He was 8.
Yeah. He so like 8 years old. They're driving back like from somewhere because Verstappen grew up in Belgium. You know he's Dutch. He grew up in Belgium. His mum is Belgian. Right. So they're driving back from somewhere. It could have been Germany or anything. Going back home, and Verstappen's dad was so mad that he told Verstappen to get out. He told Max to get out at the petrol station,
and then he drove.
And
off.
Jos just drove off.
He left him at the station.
Just dipped. Yeah, just dipped.
Left his son there.
Attacked a mechanic with a fork.
Right. What? Yeah. No. This guy was crazy, and clearly you can kind of see it in Max a little. Well, Max is like tries his best.
Yeah, tries his best. He just doesn't have the best paternal figures, like you know his stepdad, former F1 driver Nelson Piquet.
Okay.
Oh, it's a father-in-law.
Big race.
One more question before we go for our first song break. I was going to ask about like the multiple drivers and if there's multiple drivers that are signed to like one brand of car.
Each car has 2 drivers.
There's what do you mean by one teams? Brand of car?
Like Mercedes.
But a team or...
Well, okay, hold on. So there's 10 teams. Each team has 2 cars.
So
20 drivers. 20 drivers, 10 teams. In the past, it was more teams and more drivers. But, you know, not every year changes, but there's been more rules to kind of standardize it to 20.
Does that mean that, like... Are the 2 drivers that are on the same team? Are they
teammates
in contention with each other?
Oh yeah, so
big time.
Your teammate is your first rival,
right? Because he has the same car as you. So you want to beat the guy with the same car as you first and foremost, and then you want to beat everyone else.
Okay, that's testament to your ability.
So I'll give you an example. Is that there's a team called Alpine, which is a French team, right?
Right.
Alpine is based. You know Renault cars.
No.
Renault, like it's like a French car brand. Renault, they're everywhere. I'll shoot in town. There's like a bunch in town.
Okay.
Essentially, they're the sports brand of Renault.
Right.
But there's these 2 guys next. There's bit of driver change, and next year their true drivers are going to be 2 French guys, a guy called Ocon and a guy called Gasly, who famously hated each other as kids.
Right, because they used to kart together because they were both French and they grew up on the racing series together, and they used to fucking hate each other.
It's so bad that even for next year, the families aren't allowed to go to the same races together.
Wow.
Yeah,
no, it's like interesting context.
Insane.
There's so much.
Once we get into the real drama of F1, it's like if you watch it as a soap opera, it would be the most entertaining.
Watch the Netflix show.
Trust me. No, yeah. There's okay. Hold on.
We'll talk about that. During my questions, we'll talk about it.
Right. We'll go for the break. But there's so much I want to talk about. But yeah, now that I finally finished my English essay, I thought I'd go out last night to treat myself. You know, I ended up at the Vic. And there was I think it's called like House.
It was a house?
Yeah, it was like one of those like...
Jack told me he was going.
Yeah. Was it fun? Actually really good, right? House music isn't really my thing, like techno music, but like I enjoyed it so much. They played like Drake remixes, they played a Day and Night remix, and you know... I'm going to play the Drake remix for you.
Was the Massive?
Are we going to play Day and Night or Drake?
All caps.
You want to go for all carbs first?
It's up to.
Oh, we
up
just
to
led
Brando.
up to Massive. So
We
I
did just
kinda-
yeah,
I kinda wanna
so you
hear
know
that
what?
now.
We'll play Massive the cream remix.
Yeah.
Nice name.
This is really good.
We'll be back in 3 minutes, and we're going to keep on pestering about F1. My God, I love this show. I love this show. See you in 3 minutes.
We're back.
We will now let Brando and myself, but mostly Brando, explain the race weekend to Calum.
I just want to finish it because I feel like that's an important thing. So Friday, free practice, right? You use the different tires and you try the different downforce. Saturday, you have one more free practice session in the morning. In the evening, you have qualifying. Qualifying is basically you go around the track, whoever has the best lap, and you do your best lap, and that's the order of how the race the next day will start.
right.
Qualifying is kind of complicated in how it works. Basically, you have like 3 rounds. In the first round, the bottom 5 are kind of eliminated. In the next round, the next bottom 5 are eliminated.
You go one lap around it. You do your best lap are in those 10 minutes, for example. It's like 10, 15 minutes. Your best lap
is the one that counts.
is the one that counts.
And then the
So
bottom 5
people
get eliminated.
continuously get eliminated from.
Pretty much. You have,
Yeah,
you
pretty
have-
much.
In the first...
In the first round, five drivers. In the second round, another 5. And then the last round is just the top 10.
How many
and they
laps?
just-
How many laps is a round?
What do you mean?
What?
Like, are you talking
Oh,
about?
it's time, it's time. It's 10
so it's
minutes.
time. So you have 10 minutes
About
to,
10 minutes.
to do
Okay.
your best lap. So you can do. Some people do 3. Some people do 2. Because you have to
do
remember, you have to
1.
get out of the pits, warm up, do the lap,
And then
come back.
So you have to do at least 3 laps for one good lap, pretty much.
Right. Okay.
So first round, first 10 minutes, 5 drivers get out. So now you have 15. And then the second round, it's called Q2. 5 more drivers get out. And then Q3 is kind of like actually decides the order for the top 10. It's 10 minutes. It's just the top 10. And whoever gets the best lap starts first. And that's called pole position. And then on Sunday, you have the race. It's 50 to 70 laps, depending how short the track is.
And it's only the 10 drivers.
20.
No,
all
so it's 20. So bottom 5. So when you in the first
So
qualifying,
Saturday is basically just determining the order.
Yes.
Yeah. Saturday determines the order. Sunday is the actual race, and then you have these things called sprint race weekends, like this one.
Yeah, this weekend
in
is
Brazil,
a sprint race.
where instead of having qualifying on Saturday, you have it on Friday, and on Saturday you have a mini race, which actually decides the order for Sunday, and then Sunday you have the big race. It's kind of
sprint
some
races
mixed
are a new
opinions
thing
about
they've tried to do, which
mixed opinions.
It's
yeah.
interesting. But you don't like it then?
I don't mind
I don't-
the idea,
it just-
and it did help.
Why did they
Danny
change it then?
Danny Ricciardo win a race last year?
So why did they change it? Was it
They
Because-
wanted to just bring more excitement.
Well, the race start is technically the most exciting part of the race. And obviously, if you're an F1 fan, you know, like, for example, like, you could see us get
Strategy.
absolutely hyped at a pit stop.
Right.
At dudes changing tires, you can see us get
It's-
absolutely... Because context is everything in the race.
Right. So it's like all about strategies and like
So it's a completely different way of watching a sport,
Yes.
compared to like
So,
like football, right?
I bet you have a question about that and Drive to Survive and the new fans and all
Yeah, ish. I kind of do, yeah.
Because I feel like something like football is very visually easy to follow.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas with Formula One, it seems like you need the surrounding context of like how cars work and like how this.
I
and,
think
like,
I think it'd be really I mean, other
Do
than
you
the
know
fact
what I
that sure you can like watch a car pass another car and you can see the order. If you kind of don't it makes it more fun when you understand a strategy.
there's a
and
whole
pit
level of
stops and
context and
tires.
drama.
Right, yeah, exactly. It kind of
Right.
just heightens. But anyways, that's the race weekend. Now we can go on to
Well, okay.
Continue.
I was going to actually link to Netflix and stuff. I was
Right,
going to say F1's growth in recent years has been oh, Jesus Christ. I can't speak today.
Go on.
I realized that. I just could not speak.
You're fine, man. You're fine.
Okay.
You're speaking all right.
Okay, enough. We're good. F1's growth in recent years has been exponential. What do you attribute this most to? I really can't speak. Drive to Survive, social media, young drivers, etc.
definitely Drive to Survive is I think it's the biggest, especially because it has grown exponentially, but it has grown exponentially in the American market more than any other market. Like, it was already big in Europe and East Asia and Southeast Asia and obviously parts of Africa, and especially in South America it was massive as well. Just North America never clicked. They've done
really?
so many races in the Americas, like Detroit, Miami, not Miami Beach, but Long Beach. You had Caesar Palace. You had
oh God, what's it called? No, they never raced at Laguna Seca, did they?
no. I wish they did. I wish they did.
Oh,
Such
God,
a
what's
great
the one
track.
in What's the one in New York? What's the one in New York?
The one they
State?
wanted to do in New Jersey?
No, not the one. The one they actually used to race at in New York.
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they've done so many races in the United States. It just never picked traction up. No one. And then
that's so like America, though.
Right,
like,
it is, exactly. Except then there was a Netflix show made about it in 2018 was the first season, and skyrocketed popularity in America.
Really?
It's just so now they have a bunch of American races. There's so many new fans in America, but also in Europe. They had a problem. So F1 had a big problem with generations. A lot of the people that were watching were older generations. It just wasn't attracting as many young people. And then the Netflix show happened, and then all of a sudden, everyone knows something about F1. You know what I mean? And I mean, I was kind of one of them in the sense that, like, I had already been watching F1 for when it came out 8-10 years, pretty much. So, like, I've always been in love with F1 since I was a kid. But when the Netflix show came out, I was like, this is such a new way, such a new thing. There was very limited amount of F1 media. Right, you have the race, you have some YouTube videos, you have interviews, but that's really it. You have a couple movies. You know, you have Rush. That was a really good movie.
Do you think it was the fact that you kind of need all this context to enjoy it, and if you don't have it, you feel like you're excluded?
Definitely.
So basically, what Netflix did is just gave a new audience the context of F1.
Except what they did do is they made it very simplified.
Right.
So it was more accessible.
Uh-huh.
So in 2018, I was super excited to watch it. I watched the whole season in one day, and then in 2019, the second time I watched it in like 2-3 days. In 2020, it took me about a week to finish the whole season. I haven't watched a single episode of the fourth season.
I didn't
just
even
because
finish it. It wasn't very good.
What it ended up doing is, at first I was super excited. It was something new or whatever, right? But then I was like, okay, well, I know all this stuff, and sure, like they simplified it so much, and then they kind of just like started to create these like different narratives and kind of it was kind of like some misconceptions about kind of like either the narratives or kind of the spirit of the actual sport, I think, at least, which kind of made it harder and harder to watch. And it was like they're dramatizing a lot of the stuff that perhaps shouldn't or didn't need to be, which makes sense for a TV show, right? For an audience that needs to be engaged. But for somebody that actually watched every race and knew what was happening at every race, and you're like, well, I don't know how I feel about this. You know what I mean? You get, it's like, if they made a TV show about football, but then they like, I don't know, didn't talk about the bottom 10 of the whole league,
right?
And then the people that they did talk about, you're like, well, that's not really what happened. Like they'll start talking about like a mid-season game, like it was a fucking Champions League final. You know what I mean? Like something like that. And then you're in some rivalries between players and in this case drivers that you feel like didn't really exist, you know what I mean? It just kind of felt like it was more for entertainment than it was to inform.
Right, so it seems like there's a lot of like shows and series that like kind of misread what Formula One is all about.
The what made the first season so good is the fact that not many teams agreed to do it.
Right,
it
so
really
the top
was only
teams
3.
didn't.
Well, it was only
Red Bull, it was
Red Bull
McLaren.
because Red Bull always agreed to everything. It was Red Bull, Renault, and Haas.
And Haas, right?
Renault, which is Alpine's old name,
and Haas, which is the one American team. So,
and literally the only point of the first season is Daniel Ricciardo wants to leave Red Bull, but he kind of wants to leave. Is he going to leave? Where's he going to go? You kind of
and that's what like the show depicted.
Well, it's like that's part one. Part two is Renault are giving Red Bull engines. Red Bull don't want to have engines anymore, and it's just like this petty beef that goes on. But like it makes it really stupid. Like
well,
it's so petty that it's really interesting. Like
so they really were able to focus on those 3 teams, which made it kind of interesting and so petty, which was great. But then they kind of tried to expand that to every team and every driver the next seasons when other teams and drivers, and you're like, well, that didn't really happen. You know what I mean? You can only dramatize so much stuff.
You know what I'd recommend instead of watching those? There's a YouTuber called Emp Lemon, and he's done 3 videos. I think. On like racing in general, maybe Formula 1, I'm not sure. He did one NASCAR and the Art of Revenge.
Right.
There will never ever be another driver like Dale Earnhardt. And he did Talladega NASCAR's most feared track. I haven't watched this one yet, and I want to watch it. Talladega, NASCAR's most feared.
Have you ever seen the Will Ferrell movie?
I haven't.
You haven't seen it? Oh my! One of his best.
So you've got to tell me what Talladega is and why is it feared?
Well, Talladega is just
that's a NASCAR track.
It's a NASCAR track. It's not F1. It's an oval. It has a lot of banking. So I think that's probably why it's feared. Like I don't really know. I don't watch NASCAR.
Well, I mean,
go around in circles.
Speaking of NASCAR, did you see what happened?
Right, I did see that.
Oh my god,
that was insane. So basically, there was this.
I showed you that video today. It's the guy I showed you going around the outside wall riding.
So basically, NASCAR works completely different. I don't really know how it works, but I know that they have playoffs, kind of. where like the top 5 have to like race each other at the end, and you have to do a certain amount of points or positions to qualify for that. And there was this one driver who was like in 10th, and he needed to be 5th to qualify, and it was the last lap, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go for it." So instead of braking and to slow down to make the turn, he just accelerates against the wall, rides the wall all around. Did you show me?
I thought you saw the video for it.
Was this the one with Hamilton?
No,
it's this guy.
So he presses on it, goes all on the wall. He rides the wall all the way around and qualifies at the last second. Just watch. It looks like a video game. It's like insane.
That's the number 1 car? Oh, yeah, that's the end. Okay.
Fuck off.
Yeah, that's real life. Can you believe that?
Look at that. And he's meant to overtake this guy.
My
He overtakes this guy to get into the final 4.
Right, and the guy he overtakes at the end, that's the guy who was gonna be in the final 4 if he hadn't passed him. Like,
Yeah.
some insane like.
Wait, let's see again. Oh, that's the coldest shit I've ever seen.
Right, no, it's insane. It actually created like a whole movement of people that actually want to look at NASCAR now. But
In motorsport, context is everything.
right, exactly. So if you don't know anything about that, you're like, wow, cool move. But if you know that guy needed to pass the guy that he passes at the end after riding the wall for like 15 straight seconds to make it to the final 4, that makes it instantly more interesting or like I guess cool. You know what I mean? It's like if you knew about away goals and home goals.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay,
so if you don't know about that, you're like, wow, he scored 1 goal. What's going to happen now? But you're like, well, now they're tied in goals, and that's worth double because it's a away goal, even though they don't do that anymore. So
Is there any many like big controversies or like
so many.
Oh,
So many.
like in terms of corruption, we've already talked
Okay.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'll start. Spygate.
It's cool because I'm going to ask you about Abu Dhabi. We can go Spygate real quick.
Right. Okay. So corruption wise,
two types of controversies.
So corruption wise, so 2007,
Yes.
and 2008. Basically, 2007 Ferrari wins the drivers' world championship and the constructors.
Constructors is basically, so it's the teams, and it's of the 10 teams, the 2 drivers' points added together.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I never explained.
So for example, a driver could do really, like for example,
the 2 drivers as in like two
drivers
yeah.
for one team.
So
They're-
last season, not this current, this season Red Bull won both. Last season, Red Bull won the drivers' championship of Verstappen, but
the
when you put the
constructor-
things together, Mercedes won the
Mercedes is
So-
Hamilton.
and this guy called Bottas last year, not
year.
anymore.
Right.
But their points added up were more than Red Bull's, Verstappen, and Perez's teammate. added up.
So yeah, so you have 2 championships in F1. It's the drivers and it's the constructors. So in 2007, Ferrari wins the drivers' championship with Raikkonen by 1 point, a single point in the last race is when he wins it. And then in 2008, it comes out that McLaren actually had copied Ferrari's car, like had insider source from Ferrari that gave them all their like blueprints and stuff like that. So they completely copied the car, and all of a sudden they started doing really well. So they got fined $100 million, and the constructors. And they got taken, all their constructor points were taken away. So in 2008, Ferrari won the Constructors' Championship, but Hamilton won the Drivers' Championship. With
And for the
arguably,
teams, that's where the constructors where the money is.
right, yeah. Constructor, if you do better in the Constructor Championship, you get more sponsors, you get more money, you build a better car, and so on and so on.
So, what is more important then, right? Is it the driver or is it the car?
Car.
It's the car.
Objectively,
The car
is
but the best
infinitely-
but the best drivers will get the best cars.
the best drivers will get the best cars, but the best car wins the world
Yeah.
championship. Every single time, almost every single time, the best car, the best 2 cars means that the best 2 cars are very close together, will win the championship. No offense, Jenson Button, great driver.
Yeah.
Not a world championship driver if he didn't get that bronze
That-
GP in
yeah, the double
2009, which
diffuser.
was so much better than everything else. It made Barrichello look good when he was like fucking 40. You know what I mean? Like, there is some times where the best car is just like so much better that a mediocre driver can win the championship.
So I'm showing Cam. This is driver standing. So this is for this year. It says it's not over. As in the championship's over mathematically. Verstappen is champion. It's like when City win the league with
Lewis
3 games
Hamilton's
to go.
5th, bro.
Yeah.
I thought he was the best.
Well, the Mercedes car this year
Mercedes
is not
car is
good.
very bad. So
Is it really?
Again,
Well,
so-
not good compared to the other cars.
Compared to the other
I mean,
2
like
cars.
they wish, for example, Williams wished that they had a car as good as Mercedes this year. So that's the drivers' championship. So it's and then if you look at the constructors, where the hell teams? You'll see it adds them up together. So Mercedes a third.
So, is it like widely considered that Hamilton's the GOAT?
Hamilton, Schumacher,
widely,
Senna,
yeah,
Prost,
he's up there with
Fangio.
Schumacher, Senna. I don't count Fangio.
You don't count Fangio?
No, he drove in the 50s.
So you don't count like old
Well-
it depends how far back. Listen, I'll count incredibly like up there drivers. You have Jim Clark, Lauda, Jackie Stewart. You know, obviously Senna, Prost. In terms of sheer pace, I put Jackie Ickx there, Jacques Villeneuve. You know what I mean? Some guys that like, but like in terms of GOATs, you also have to have that resume. So really, the only people that can really count are Schumacher. He won 7 championships. Hamilton won 7. Senna won 3, but he died kind of prematurely. So Prost won 4. Lauda won 3. You know, you have those drivers.
Vettel won 4.
Vettel is obviously won 4. So I have these drivers that are very talented. And then in terms of another controversy, is one that just happened last year, 2021.
Here's my question.
Right.
Abu Dhabi.
Right.
2021.
Right.
Discuss. This is your essay prompt.
Okay. Listen, when it happened, I wish I had somebody to talk to about it. We only have 15 minutes. But anyways, so I won't go into all the background at this point, just because we don't have.
I have shown Calum the.
To be fair, we're not really talking about much else after this. I was literally going to talk. The only other prompt I had was, what's the biggest disaster in F1? Like
Senna dying.
So we can talk about those two then.
Right. Okay. So I'll go on Senna dying super fast.
I showed you, so we don't have to do the context of what happened with the safety car and stuff. But I mean, we can do it very quickly for the audience. But it's why I showed you that clip I showed you of like there was this guy crashes, Hamilton's leading by 20 seconds. And then
15, like 11, 12.
Yeah. And then it was 20. We watched it today.
Genuinely?
Yeah.
And
then is this the one where he beats him?
Yeah. So then on the safety car, which is kind of like when there's an incident, this car comes out and bunches the pack together for safety. So you lose all your lead and stuff, but that's just, that's the name of the game. That happens, right?
Right.
There's one of the things in F1, it's like, it's unfair, but that happens. It could happen to anyone. So cars bunch up, and then with 1 lap to go, they kind of mess up. Like they first say, the cars between Verstappen and Hamilton that were lapped because they were slower. They first said they shouldn't unlap themselves. They shouldn't get out of the way, and then they said they should. And there was 1 lap left, and then Verstappen won the whole championship.
So it was kind of bullshit then.
Okay, well, we'll get into it in a second. First, Senna dying, 1994, Imola, or San Marino GP as it was known back then. I think his suspension broke or something. He went into a wall. The suspension went through his face.
Yeah.
Died on the spot. That same weekend, the day before, another driver had died. Very similar way. So then I think they banned turbos after that because the cars were being they were going too fast. So they banned turbos after that, and it was just a big safety thing. That was like, I guess, the biggest tragedy. But like nothing really came of it. I mean, safety went up. Well, I mean, they increased safety. They banned turbos to make the cars a little slower.
What else can they do? Like Formula 1 is already dangerous.
Yes, well, right now safety is insane. Like these cars can pretty much. People can still die. You have Grosjean almost dying.
Yeah, his car exploded in Abu Dhabi.
His car literally blew up, and he walked outside the fire. He pulled himself out the car after it was stuck and climbed over a fence.
Spent 28 seconds in the flames.
That's 20.
No, it was insane.
He escaped with not minor, but not major.
I'm guessing their suits are somewhat.
Oh yeah, the suits are fireproof. So that's all like. So much safety stuff. So the big thing about F1 is that everything you have in a regular car today came from F1 at some point. Seatbelts started in F1.
I didn't know that.
No, right. Seatbelts started in F1. Automatic gearboxes.
What's it called? Battery powered cars.
Battery powered. Yeah,
every revolution that comes within like the engineering of cars.
Usually,
not every
one,
but a lot of. So, like right now, they're doing synthetic fuels. F1 is researching a lot in synthetic fuels, and if they figure out to do that, you'll see that in every car. The hybrid system right now, the F1 cars are V6 turbo hybrids. You don't really have, and now so many sports cars are.
So many sports cars, so many road cars. Like the whole thing. Like 10 years ago, there was Toyota Prius. And it's like that's the hybrid car,
right? Mm-hmm. That's the one hybrid car. These days, every car is almost every car is hybrid. Yeah. And that's because F1 has made the technology so accessible. But anyways, back to Abu Dhabi 2021. So
let's go.
A little context. Hamilton and Verstappen are even in points. They start Hamilton first, Verstappen first, Hamilton second. So whoever is ahead at the end of the race will win the championship. It's that close. Race starts. Hamilton gets a better start. Passes him turn 1. They go through the little first section. They get to the first straight. At the end of the first straight, Verstappen throws a dive bomb, which is when you just try and chuck the car on the inside of in the corner from very far away to try and get a move done. Hamilton ends up cutting the corner because he essentially gets pushed off. No action required, so already the tension is high because now Hamilton is ahead, but he didn't make the corner, so Red Bull is kind of arguing like, what the hell is going on? And then everyone's like, well, he kind of just threw his car in there. Obviously, Hamilton had to bail out. But anyways, that was the story of all of 2021. Verstappen puts the car in either you crash with me or you move out of the way, which is like, some people like that kind of driving. I think it's unsportsmanlike, or
it seems it, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like some drivers used to drive a lot like that. Senna used to drive a lot like that. Schumacher a little bit used to drive like that. But it's like, that was 40 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, no one drove like that for the last 15 for a reason. There's rules now that tell you not to drive like that, because if you do drive like that, it's too dangerous. You know what I mean? Anyways, so the race goes on. Hamilton has like this commanding lead pretty much. He's nursing his tires. He switches to some hard tires pretty early on in the race. And he's just continuing to build a gap. The only time Verstappen came close is when his teammate Perez kind of started defending until Hamilton started catching up to Perez after the pit stop, because the pit stop takes like 25 seconds or something. You go in, you change your tires, and it's limited speed in the pit lane because you don't want to run over people. So you get in there, and it's 80 kilometers an hour, which for you is like, oh my god, that's so fast. But for F1 cars, it's kind of like snail space. So you go and you lose a bunch of time. Anyways, so his teammate Perez goes through. He's not in the lead. Hamilton comes out behind him. He starts to catch up to him. Perez does a very good job at defending, makes him lose so much time. Verstappen catches up to him. And then Hamilton survives the Verstappen attack. He starts building an even bigger gap with these used hard tires. No matter what Verstappen was doing, Hamilton just was going faster. You know what I mean? So I think it was 8 laps.
It was 8 laps to go.
8 laps to go.
Our king, the greatest driver of all time, ironically. It's Nicholas Latifi.
Who's also a pay driver, this Canadian pay driver. Who is now going to be racing.
He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, but not the best driver.
Smacks against the wall, debris everywhere.
Debris everywhere. So they have to call a safety car, which is when, like you explained, it's essentially this road car comes out and bunches up the pack. So what ends up happening is this kind of chain of events where Mercedes doesn't pit Hamilton for new tires. They're like, well, it's close enough to the end that the race probably won't restart. Red Bull has nothing to lose, so they're like, let's put Verstappen on new tires in case the race does restart, right? So the way the rules work in F1 is the safety car comes out until the
so they thought that was the end of the race then?
Well,
yeah, it can happen.
It can happen that the race ends under... It happened. It's happened so many times.
It happened this season.
Yeah, it happened this season.
So it's essentially a gamble then?
Right, it is a gamble. Usually in the middle of the race, you get... It's a lot easier to know that you're going to restart.
So don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry about it.
But in towards the end of the races, you never know. So they're like, well, the race probably won't restart. Mm-hmm. Usually the safety car just keeps doing laps, and these laps count towards the end of the race until the debris is clear, and then the safety car goes in, and the first guy restarts the race. Basically, he gets to choose when everyone gets to go up until a certain point, up until the starting line. What ends up happening is, first, the lap cars don't unlap themselves. Usually, the process is you do a few laps until the debris is cleared, then you tell the lap cars to unlap themselves. What happens when you tell the lap cars to unlap themselves is you do one more lap. You have to do one more lap to make sure that the lap cars have enough time to go around, not necessarily to catch up, but to have enough gap that you don't run into them the second you start going again.
Right.
What happens is they tell only 5 cars, not every lap car, just the lap cars between Hamilton and Red Bull to unlap themselves for some reason. And then, instead of doing that extra lap, which would have meant the race ended under the safety car, they just decided to restart right then and there to give one last lap of racing. And everyone was kind of just like, well, these are not the rules. This is... Why are we doing this?
They just kind of did that on the spot to make it more interesting.
To make it more interesting, except it wouldn't make it more interesting because Hamilton, his laps were 40 laps old, his tires were 40 laps old, and Verstappen had brand new soft tires, and Hamilton had 40 lap old hard tires. So which is kind of like saying, I'm running with bricks on my feet, and you have running shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have like cinder blocks on my feet.
I think it was staged like that.
My dad still thinks it was staged.
That seems like a crazy narrative. Like, it seems...
Right. It seems like that, right? So I don't think it was staged. But after this whole aftermath, obviously Verstappen ended up winning on the last lap because he had the better tires and he passed them. Fair enough, whatever.
That was kind of crazy to watch, though.
Yeah, I showed him that.
I remember watching it. It was interesting. By the way, for anyone listening home, I don't know if I said this. I'm a Ferrari fan. I was born in Italy. I grew up in Italy. I've only followed Ferrari.
Shame
I could not give a fuck about any other driver or team. Like I genuinely do not care about how they do.
Yeah.
I watch for Ferrari.
What's the Ferrari's biggest who do you hate the most? Like what team?
Rival?
Yeah,
probably McLaren.
McLaren, historically McLaren, but
okay.
I don't mind.
I'll
McLaren.
become a McLaren fan then.
Right now, I don't mind McLaren. I think
Don't
Ricardo.
stuff like that.
I think Ricardo's a very good driver. I thought we should have picked him up instead of Sainz back 2 years ago. Now I guess it was the right choice to pick Sainz.
Well, this season actually, so Brando has been very sad. I think. So
happier than you have been. Happier than you have been.
Okay, well we know. I'm also a Lewis fan.
Listen,
I'm a Lewis
I've been
fan
watching
as well.
for 12 years. You think I've ever seen Ferrari win anything? I'm used to this thing.
12 years. Oh, 2010. Oh, yes. You've not seen Ferrari. Yeah.
I've Abu Dhabi 2010, Brazil 2012, 2017, 2018. I was
supporting Charles this season.
Calum,
I was supporting Charles this season.
I was like an Arsenal fan, pretty much. Used to be very good, has been shit for the last 10 years. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah.
Anyways, so the race ends with Verstappen winning, and then what ends up happening is they start saying that there was a rule that kind of said it didn't specify that you had to have those cars unlap themselves and then do an extra lap.
What do you mean?
Well, it kind of said that not all lap cars had to be unlapped. That was the rule. Said that the race director.
So there was like a technicality then.
Right, a technicality. The race director, at his discretion, could do this. But it's kind of like if a penalty shot, right? You know, it's always taking. You put the ball down, you walk back, and you wait for the ref to blow the whistle. Mm-hmm. Let's say that the rule said you wait for the ref to give you a signal. Right, and say it's the fucking World Cup final, and you put the ball down on the little disc, and you look at the ref, and the ref nods at you, so then you just shoot it, and he's like, fair enough, that was a signal, we'll count it. And then was like, that doesn't count. You had to wait for the goalie to be set up, the whistle to so it's like, it's something that had never happened before. It was the first time anyone had ever interpreted that rule that way.
And that was only a year ago then.
Right. That was
so that was December last year.
And then what happened after was the crazy thing. So Mercedes tries to bring it up to court pretty much. The FIA does an investigation. They find out it was they call it human error. They said that the race director made a mistake, that it was human error, and then the race director had to sign an NDA, a non-discretion agreement, to never speak about what happened again.
He got fired.
Then he had to sign an NDA about not speaking about that night ever again to anyone. And then the FIA says it shouldn't have ended this way. Hamilton probably should have won it, but the race is over and we can't change the results, which is hilarious because in Austin this year, Alonso got disqualified
was it? It was Austin, yeah.
It was Austin this year.
Yeah.
Alonso gets disqualified for having an unsafe car or something. Somebody protested against his car, and they found that his car was like not safe or whatever. Yeah. And then Alpine, the team he drives for, was like, well, you never told us anything during the race. And they're like, fair enough, we're going to change the result back. So they changed the result twice after the race. So it's like, basically what ended up happening is the FIA, which is it's like FIFA, but or UEFA, but for F1, wanted to cover their ass and avoid a mass embarrassment because they realized they fucked up on the rules and Hamilton probably should have won that race and the championship.
But if you ask a Red Bull fan, you'll get a completely different answer.
Right. Really? Again, I do not care.
It's a complete bias then, is it?
Yeah.
Again, I could not care less if Hamilton had won that championship. In 2017 and 18, my number one enemy was Lewis Hamilton because he kept beating Ferrari and Vettel, and Mercedes was doing.
He's just too good.
Him and Bottas as his little dog walker or whatever they used to. I still have my little pains against Hamilton and Bottas for those 2 years alone, where they pretty much did everything they could to. But anyways. So I still have some sort of resentment for Hamilton. I'm just saying Hamilton should have still won that championship and that race.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. We do have 2 minutes left, so we'll have to sign off. However, I will ask you one last question, and I'll need a 2-word, I'll need pretty much one-word answer, okay?
Right.
This season,
right,
Max Verstappen won, Charles Leclerc and Ferrari did not, obviously, as we know. Was it Ferrari's fault only?
It was Ferrari's fault.
Or did Charles Leclerc underperform?
It was Ferrari's fault massively. Other than France, Ferrari's fault, 100%. You have Monaco, Australia. No, Australia we won. Monaco, Spain, the car broke down. Azerbaijan, Japan. No, Japan was fine actually. Just Ferrari, Imola, Imola was kind of his fault, but they shouldn't have put him on those softs. They should have just kept the fucking third
And the
place.
last question, should Mattia Binotto, the boss of Ferrari, be fired or not?
Nah.
Nah? Oh, he's keeping Binotto. He's keeping Italian Harry Potter on the team.
In 2019, we got rid of Arrivabene, and then it went to shit, and then now I think maybe just give him a little more time, see what happens.
Okay, we'll see. Well, that was...
I'm gonna have to do my homework after this.
You
Watch
I
Netflix got me
show.
interested.
You got my number.
All right, I'll watch the Netflix show. I'll watch that.
Right, so Calum, sign us off.
All right.
This has been Let Me Talk with Tom and our guest Brando. Good night.
Good night. And this is All Caps by Mad Villain. That's Brando's song. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.